Okay, so how do you know if you are toxic? I'm going to put up some symptoms. They are going to be vague and they are going to hit on a lot of different systems. And if you kind of fit into a lot of the different groups, don't panic. There's things we can do about this. This is becoming sort of like the new modern life where we are just exposed to so many chemical compounds that the liver can get overwhelmed. So just like you can develop a toxic state, we can also do things to improve it. So let's go through what these things are. Your symptoms might be difficulty with thinking, memory, concentration, brain fog, problem solving, executive functioning, right? You're trying to like write your checks for your bills and it's like, okay, I can't figure out how to follow the steps. Okay, so cognitive issues. I briefly mentioned endocrine or hormone disruption, but if you have a hormone problem, maybe like a hormone sensitive cancer, like breast cancer, we would consider that a state where there's too much of an estrogenic effect that has led to a cancerous process within the breast. That there's, infertility, repeated miscarriages, autoimmunity, inflammation, all of these things sort of fall under endocrine disruption. Pain can be part of toxicity. So either it's neuropathic pain, pain just sort of widespread throughout the body, headaches, migraines, changes in weight, changes in sleep, mood, appetite. Okay, again, see how vague these all are. Like if you went and talked to your doctor, they would listen, they would take a history, and then they'd order a bunch of labs, and then they would say, you're fine, everything looks good, and then they would reassure you, right? Which is important, but I think that we're not really measuring the thing that we're looking for because we don't have the tests really to measure them very accurately. Other symptoms of toxicity, gut dysfunction, you might have leaky gut, you might have inflammation in your gut. So, if things are not well down in the gastrointestinal tract. And finally, you've developed autoimmunity, an inflammatory condition, or you're starting to react to foods. And then MCS might be new to some of you, but it stands for multiple chemical sensitivity. And I think the best way I can describe it is some people will walk all the way around the mall so that they could avoid going through the perfume counter, right? Because that smell is so severely bothersome, and within just a few whiffs of it you get a headache and you just don't feel well. Some people actually feel quite ill when they are exposed to a lot of smells and chemicals. So as you can see, they're vague, they're all over the place, and there's like nothing that kind of ties it together, right? And when I have a patient in front of me and I go, okay, it's all over the place, kind of don't know what to do with this, I think about toxicity, because sometimes that's the common thread between all the symptoms. Okay, so what do you do if you think you have a toxicity problem? Can we do labs to measure your toxins in your body or their effect? We don't have, as I said, regular standard labs that you can go to your doctor and get drawn to determine whether or not you have toxicity. However, there are some markers that are indirect. Now, you can go back and look at your own labs, a low white blood cell count, a low red blood cell count, maybe elevations in some of your liver enzymes like the AST and the ALT, even if they're in the normal range, but they're in the upper half of the normal range, that sometimes, will kind of catch my attention. This is not a lab that's often drawn, but a GGT level or a uric acid level, but these are not things that we draw. And, they're just indirect markers. They're not so reliable. There are toxin panels where you can submit a blood sample and they will test to see how much different heavy metals there are, VOCs, phthalates, fire retardants, BPA, and all these different categories. But they're expensive. And the problem is that just because you have some of these different categories of toxins light up doesn't mean that they're directly causing your symptoms. So we're not at the point where we can make a connection between here's how much BPA you have in you, which means this is why you have brain fog, because one particular toxin can cause many different causes in different people. We have no clue how to tie all that information together right now. So people's symptoms also don't correlate with their lab values. So I have seen patients with low levels of mercury exhibiting symptoms of high mercury. And maybe to that person, because of their genes and their unique biochemistry, it had a bigger effect on them. I've seen people with high mercury levels and they're fine. They don't even have any major diagnoses on their chart. So again, we can't really correlate. So the sad truth is that we are all exposed. I used to run these panels on patients, and then I realized that I was wasting my patients' time and money because, everybody turns positive, and I can't really say that we need to do a detox because of this. My thought is we do a detox anyways, because I always do the natural form of detox. And I think that you can never, lose on putting that time and effort into doing a food-based detox. Okay, so the most important thing in really figuring out if labs aren't going to help you is that you take a history. This is why our doctors spend so much time. As soon as they come in the room, they open up the computer and they start typing. But there is an important reason for that. We want to get a good history. And like I said, we'll find the symptoms are vague, multiple systems involved, and you've tried lots of therapies and nothing's really helped, right? You've taken medicines for your headaches. You've done a bunch of tests for your gut health. Like you just haven't gotten answers. And here's the thing. Maybe you feel better after a brief detox, okay? Now, detox, there's many things it could be. There are ways of doing a detox where you would go to a practitioner like a naturopathic doctor or maybe a functional medicine doctor, integrative medicine doctor, and you can be given a chelating agent that you either drink or it's IV, and it sort of sucks toxins out into the blood, from your tissues into the blood, and then we can measure them, or it sucks it into the urine, and then we can measure that. I've just never done these. I've never been comfortable with them, and sometimes you can make people sick. So I don't like big detoxes that are short term and with a lot of heavy gun stuff. I always like to be gentle and take the long-term approach, because this is not a short-term project. This is a lifelong project, because we're going to keep getting exposed. And what we want to do is to keep promoting the natural detoxification of the liver. Okay, so, and this is why we actually have a 12-day detox challenge, which is all food-based, because in 12 days, even though it's a short period of time, just using food and behaviors, you can shake things up enough to feel better. And so this is actually a good test to know if your symptoms are due to MS or they're due to a toxic state. And sometimes it could still be very gray. But remember when I showed you all the different symptoms you can have, many of those could be due to MS, but maybe not. Maybe some of them are due to other things, because unfortunately, as people living with MS, I know a lot of us think we've met our quota. Like, okay, I got my one major disease, right? I can't get anything else, right? Wrong. We can get other things. So my thought is, is there something else going on in addition to MS? And here's the thing, a toxic state can actually drive that autoimmune process as well. So it's actually not helping you to not address it.